In the Guru Yoga, yes, again the Guru Yoga, all the visualizations and details here, I'm not explaining much because I'm sure you'll find, you can read and you can also, now that you have actually received the transmission, you can read, not that difficult to understand, and also the detail of the visualization is very, very relative. In the Longchen Nyingtik Guru Yoga, Longchen Nyingtik Guru Yoga, there's also the tradition of doing quite an extensive 7-limb accumulation. The methods such as 7 limbs are very important because they are kind of very easy to practice, but a lot of benefit. Most importantly, dissolving the, taking the abhisheka. I mean, of course, most importantly, supplication to the Guru again and again. In this case, 7-line prayer and Vajra Guru mantra. I just want to tell you that you have received the major, most extensive Ngondro teachings transmission. Just make a note of that, because you know, so that you don't have to ask this transmission again and again. I think in the old days there is something like you do the Ngondro first, and then you receive the Abhisheka, and then you do the Yidam practices, and then you finally go into the Mahasandhi and so on and so forth. I don't know how that is possible at this age. But definitely, as you have noticed this time, Ngondro is so crucial. Even if you have received the main practice, one should never let go the Ngondro. Even you have finished so-called fixed amount of Ngondro, one should never let go the Ngondro. I mean, the Tibetan word Ngondro is translated as preliminary, which is a correct translation. But I think for us, maybe a good reason, maybe it's good to translate this as a practice, you know, the foundation practice. So, supplication to the Gurus, and then receiving the Abhisheka. Receiving the Abhisheka is basically okay. The main purpose is to discover the innate Buddha nature. Remember, Guru is the method, and your Buddha nature is the wisdom. And with using this method, we are trying to sort of dig out almost the wisdom. So Guru, so this is maybe being so generic, but the Buddha nature at the moment is lost, or it's lost in the midst of 4 different kinds of crowd, or a maze, or just like heap. And these 4 crowd or maze or heaps are basically body, the the aggregates, the body, and prana, the energy, and bindu, which is the, in a very, very simple language. Okay, let's say it's the mind, the gross mind, and then there's another crowd or a maze or that which obscures the Buddha nature, and that is This is something, probably something new for some of you. Okay, propensity, paksha, habit. So you are supposed to you are looking for Buddha nature, so to speak, right? So you dismantle the form for which we receive the vasa abhisheka. And for the prana, the secret abhisheka, for the bindu, wisdom abhisheka, yes, wisdom abhisheka. For the last, the final defilement, we receive the pointing out abhisheka. And at the end, the Guru dissolves into you, so the wisdom and the method become inseparable. I have received this from Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche very early. It would have been really good if many of the philosophy Shedras of Tibetan Shedras, they actually include this as their study material, but the philosophers, they're just too arrogant. They consider this as some kind of a meditator's manual. When we were young, both Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche and Nyoshken Rinpoche and all of these people, they would really promote this text. It was so I felt that nowadays the tradition of teaching the Guzanam Shalung within the Tibetan circle is unfortunately diminishing a little bit. When Drugapama Wangja Rinpoche asked Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche and Dujam Rinpoche what to translate in English, unanimously both lamas emphasized this. Drugapama Wangja put so much heart and mind and energy to translate this into English. Even recent times, he found lots of mistakes and they had to redo everything, and I think there's a new edition. That is so touching to see the, because it is not one of those, sexy texts that you can find. One would, it will sail more if it is a tantric sort of chakra sambhara text or kala chakra text or something like that. And I know that there is several translation also in Chinese. When Chris asked me what should be translated and whether he should be translating this, I encouraged wholeheartedly, because aside from the contents of the teaching in the Guzanam Shalung, I think, and I believe this 100%, this guy called Patrul Rinpoche have done an amazing aspiration. So whoever even has the text in their, I don't know, living room, coffee table, whatever, will have some sort of a connection. Yes. Just everything, being a great bodhisattva, he must have done so much aspiration. Of course, this is totally dualistic. All the Buddhas and bodhisattvas are equal. But relatively speaking, we somehow know that a certain bodhisattvas have much more effect on people than the other. Many of the bodhisattvas, we don't even know the names until we read the sutras. We never know what Avalokiteshvara did, but he is the most popular and still is. Avalokiteshvara in person, Patrul Rinpoche, even him, if you look at he and people who are related to him, the Dharma practice and the study was a successful one. You know, in Khampa language, they say, Ngoten, Chungoten, Ngoten. Ngoten is such a nice language. It means, like, you know, if you have to cross a very dangerous road, and when you reach the other shore, then you basically succeeded that journey.
The road.
Journey or the road. And whether the Dharma success of the Dharma is so much to do with how much renunciation mind has happened to that lineage, how much great practitioner has been produced by this lineage. Not at all with how much this lineage has gold-roofed monasteries, that and this much monks, and so on and so forth. That is never the indication of the success of the Dharma. So, this is why I encouraged also Chris and maybe many others also in the future, if they wish to translate again, by all means do so. Talking about the translations, there are a few budding questions. There are so many people asking me this and that. There's one question that I'd like to share, I would like to answer, talking about the related to the translation. Actually, some of you may have heard that group of us are now beginning to consider translating the Kangyur and Tangyur first into English and then many other languages. And this is really like just the magnitude of the work is frightening. Actually, this project of translating the Kangyur, you know, was not really initiated by me, by the way. An American, a friend of mine, who had some extra money, he said. And he said for tax purpose, he has to spend it on some kind of a philanthropic stuff, in activity, and he really wants to spend on something to do with the translation. So we all got, you know, if somebody is giving money, and you know, there's always we could create something. So we all got excited and said, well, why not have a translators conference? Yeah. And more than 50 major universities around the world, the experts, the professors, you know, researchers, students came. And the lamas from the 4 major Tibetan lineage, they also participated. And somehow the conversation, you know, leads to, well, you know, there's no point of just translating, you know, few, you know, sadhana of few gurus and long life, you know, prayers of this and that guru, you know, we, you know, all the lamas, we all think about our own lineage, our own monastery. We are forgetting the Shakyamuni himself. And another thing is the interest of to Buddhism, genuinely and probably just curiosity from the West, from the Europe, America, is really growing so fast. But, you know, us Tibetans and Chinese, we are kind of blessed because we have such a good facilities in studying the Dhamma. Chinese have the Chinese sutras and shastras translated. Whereas from the West, even though there's so much enthusiasm, there's a shortage of teacher and the teaching material, books that's translated. If we do have, it's usually a few pujas and sadhanas. There's too many of them, you know, like, and there's, I'm not stopping to translate that, but the real teachings of the Buddha Very, very few, not even 1% maybe. And then there's so many other things to think about. For instance, like there's a lot of Western academia who is really also putting some energy in studying Buddhist philosophy. And they do translate. But you see, the thing is, the Western academic have this thing about being objective and stuff like that. So it will be a version, a different kind of version, so to speak. And the academics also, they only choose a small section of a text, maybe 5 pages and 100 pages of footnotes. And they like the beginning and the end. These are really it's not their concern, because they're not really a practitioner. Anyway, that's what they say. It's changing now. Then there's other things to think about, many other things. There's other things like New Age stuff, which is basically it's all hodgepodge, stolen from this Buddhist text, this Buddhist text, and all made it into book like just ridiculous book called Secret. My God, it is so ridiculous. But it has a little bit of be good and all of. Who can argue with that? Of course we should all be good. This is I've lost my temper 2000% once. I don't want to mention the name, but it's a Bhutanese. For goodness sake, it's a Bhutanese born in a Buddhist country, supposedly. And quite influential, that's all I can say. Otherwise, bringing me the book called Power of Now. I'm sure you have read it. Yeah. It's one of the bestsellers. And he says, how come we don't have something like this in Buddhism? I've lost like 2000% of my temper. And even the title Power of Now is basically stolen from Telopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Buddha himself. So do you know what will happen? Even countries like traditionally Buddhist country like Bhutan, they will, I think, if you fast forward about 100 years, they will think that all this, actually it's our value. It's the one that came from here, but actually it came from somewhere, like a Seattle or something like that. I don't remember where the Power of Now came from. I think it was Seattle.
The Power Now.
Power of Now, yes. That lineage. Have you heard the name Mahatma Gandhi? And what do you know about him, beside being skinny and walking like that? His trademark is ahimsa, non-violence. The struggle through non-violence, right? Do you know where he got that idea from? From Tolstoy. Tolstoy.
从这个托尔斯泰
And Thoreau, the American, great American Thoreau.
还有美国一个作家叫梭罗。
And do you know where they got this idea from? Bhagavad Gita and all the Hindu philosophy. Isn't it embarrassing in a way? Here is one Indian, really legendary Indian, who had to get his own idea from Russia and America. Anyway, there's so much things to think about. I'm talking too much here because now my temper is again rising. So anyway, yes, the Buddha's teaching has to be translated. And that was the decision during the conference. And I somehow ended up being voted and being pushed into becoming temporary caretaker. Temporary, underline this. There was a lot of questions regarding this, and I thought because it is related to translating the words of the Buddha, I thought this is something not to be ignored. But I can't, you see, I'm a useless caretaker because I actually don't know what's happening. So I will let my colleague to explain this, Jingri.